Oh, yeah, this works well.
Okay. So good morning, Miss.
Good morning.
So today what we're really going to focus on is in terms of speaking about specific to your content area, the difference between ser y estar, and then on like in the grander scheme of things, what we're going to be doing with all teachers, there's a competency document that kind of like with any program, what we're trying to do is to really like build our teachers up into different levels of proficiency, like similar to our students, kind of like, you know, how we're doing the rubric work of below and approaching. So that's what our work will like consist of, and it's a little bit more grounded and objective. But to start us off, starting with the serie and estar, my question to you was, how are you going to support your students in developing and understanding or learn the difference? And the reason I ask that is because I know ser and estar is like can be very philosophical for students, and I wanted to see how you were supporting them and developing that understanding.
Well, the advantage we have with our students is that they already know it. Now it's getting them to differentiate it sometimes, like which one's which sometimes, or sometimes they'll make silly mistakes of misusing one, but it's not as severe as how it is with other language learners that are not heritage speakers. So what we did yesterday, we learned ser and the conjugations through poetry. So we had this poem and we read it the first time. Then the second poem, it was the exact same one except that the personal pronoun changed, but the conjugation. And then the third one, the personal pronoun changed again, and after each one, I asked them, okay, so what changed this time? What's different? What do you notice? Then by the end, they eventually came to the conclusion that it was first person, second person, third person, and the different conjugations. But before that, we had done like a preview of, well, okay, what's primera persona, segunda persona, tercera persona, and why kind of thing. So that was pretty cool, and that worked for them. But that's like introducing one at a time, and that works, right? So then once we introduce estar, and we get to that point, there's this cool graphic that shows like kind of like a cheat sheet of like ser is used with these like attributes or categories, and estar is used with those. And last semester, the students pretty much got it with that, just because they're a little more advanced in that level and understanding of the difference between those. So that infographic really works for them and practicing it.
So I have two questions. The first one would be just to take a step back. Which standard is the ser and estar grounded in?
Well, since we're not using fully actual standards, it's a little more difficult. So what I did, I took one of the SLA,
our Spanish language arts standards?
And I took the one that talks about producing work that, let me look it up right here. It's one that talks about producing writing that is appropriate to the style or it's appropriate to the task, demand, or audience. So what they had to do...
from the Common Core frameworks that we work with.
Okay, that one. So I took that standard, and since we're working with poetry, the student had to, at the end, which was a form of an exit slip as well, at the end they had to finish the poems and change them all to include the pronoun somos and the pronoun nosotros and the pronoun personal pronoun ellos. So they had to say como no somos, no somos y somos. So they had to pretty much do the exact same thing they did before where they saw it, and they had to do it with the right ones just to see if they had gotten the conjugations. And then they had to write their own impossible poem about themselves, like stereotypes that are placed upon them, and then who they really are. So that's how we did it. So we work with poetry.
So then what ends up happening is yo soy or estoy. So it's kind of like that state of being. And
yeah, we haven't done one with estoy yet because we're just working with ser right now.
Okay.
It was like working with like negating. So working with ser as a verb as a whole. So which means like using it in the affirmative and then negating it as well. So that's what I used it. But if it had been like actual standards, then we would have used one on like presentational and communication.
So then before I go into tomorrow's lesson, like I know that those are the ones that we use, but in your experience, what do you recommend or what do you feel would be more useful in addition to using those frameworks?
I think actual. Because that's like the main one for world languages. Because I think American some Council of World Language, something like that.
I think I've seen that one, but aren't those more like broader, like developed culture, or do they have more like specific substandards?
There aren't any that they're not even. I don't think for English do we have grammar standards, but for ACTFL, ACTFL is the best one because it works on reading, writing, culture, and it allows you to bring in more topics which are like culture and communication, like how do we communicate, which is like the whole goal of world language is like building intercultural competence. So I prefer ACTFL because it allows you to do more with the students and bring in other topics without it always having to be a written product. You can do like other things.
Which is essentially what you're doing anyways. Like you have like the ACTFL mindset and you're applying it to the...
And I pair it with the Common Core literacy standards or the SLA standards. That's what I've been doing. I just merge them together. But like and the cool thing about ACTFL though is awesome because students can even self-evaluate and track their progress.
Okay.
Because they have a whole, like the whole manual for ACTFL has like a pyramid where kids they don't just go novice, mid, or anything. It's like not like beginning novice and mid novice. Like it's very broken down really well.
So then today when we meet to do some vertical alignment, myself, you, Ms. Ochoa. So that can be something we can include in the conversation. So as part of that vertical alignment, like what SLA, ELA standards, and then the ACTFL, so that way we can build our own kind of, first our power standards, and then divide them up.
Yeah, Mr. Gallardo and I have talked about it, and I think he prefers ACTFL to it, which is what he's used in the past. Because also ACTFL has these like I can do statements, so I can do this, so students can kind of see, okay, well, this is where I'm at. Así que hay que ponerlas al lado, ¿ok?
Oh, yeah.
Justo al lado.
En un MacBook.
Oh, God, I don't know. What does it mean?
¿Cuál?
Oh, it's very nice.
Que no eres como
Master?
de ninguna todavía.
¿Que se vaya la corona entonces? ¿Me la pago?
No dejas aquí. Te vas a... Ok, chicos, las computadoras las van a usar al rato, así que por favor, guárdenlas.
Can't even see the words for how she mastered everything.
Hay que bajar, ¿sí? ¿Qué pasó? Mira, primer lugar, 2 segundos, 9 segundos. Wow, Miguel. Pienso que voy a poner aquí un
Tú también, güey.
para la conferencia. Ok, chicos, atención, por favor. Lo que vamos a hacer el día de hoy. Ok, chicos. Hay que guardar las computadoras o ponerlas al lado porque las usaremos al rato. Chicos, por favor, otro día le ganas. ¿Ok? Gracias. Ok, la agenda de hoy. ¿Okay? Vamos a hacer, ¿qué hicimos el diálogo, el check-in, la práctica? Vamos a repasar el verbo estar. ¿Ok? Luego vamos a escribir unas historias y luego vamos a compartir y analizar las historias en grupo y vamos a hacer un video de una historia que escojamos. ¿Ok? Ahora, antes de eso vamos a repasar el objetivo de aprendizaje, ¿ok? Writing objective, ¿ok? Hoy vamos a practicar usar este vocabulario socioemocional para expresar e identificar nuestras emociones.
Pero yo sí tomo los caballos.
Porque a veces decimos, es que estoy enojado, pero no más enojado. En vez puedes estar furioso, que es más que enojado. O puedes estar deprimido y piensas que es enojado. Entonces vamos a usar este vocabulario para expandir el vocabulario.
Teacher, why does somebody faster?
Hay que levantar.
Fast when they're angry?
Hay que levantar la mano, por favor, ¿ok? Brian?
Why do some people say en vez de a veces?
Es una pregunta para el parking lot después que usaremos a veces. ¿Okay? Entonces, el objetivo de hoy va a ser practicar el vocabulario que hemos estado aprendiendo, usando, practicar el vocabulario para identificar y expresar nuestras emociones, y aparte vamos a seguir practicando vocabulario en una escena o una situación negativa que de ustedes mismos, ¿ok? Entonces sabrán si han aprendido todo bien o cómo vamos, ¿ok? Si pueden identificar una emoción, y ya hicieron esta parte hoy más o menos en el check-in, así que vamos bien. Y vamos en la escena que vamos a crear una respuesta alternativa a las cosas que hablamos ayer. Entonces, ya vimos la agenda, vimos el objetivo, ahora vamos a ir con el verbo estar.
Okay. So good morning, Ms. Balthazar.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I had the opportunity to observe your second period, and today what we're going to do is we're going to go over some student work, as well as how you felt the lesson went, and we're going to relate it back to our competency document to see just to make sure that I'm supporting you in making lessons as purposeful as possible for students. So could you remind me what the purpose of the lesson was?
Yeah, the purpose was for the students to practice using social and emotional vocabulary to identify their emotions, and then once identifying the emotions, coming up with an alternative response. So like, this happened, and then this is how I reacted, and then it's like, okay, so what emotions was the person feeling at that moment? And getting them to say more than just mad. And then having them to kind of do a redo of like, okay, well, this is how I could have handled it better. Kind of reflecting on that.
Excellent. So, So that was the intent. And then, what changes did you make along the way, or what noticings did you have along the way?
I think it went really well, and them actually like being able to like think of moments. Some of them, like, I actually did have it. Some of them were like, "No, I never get mad." I'm like, "Really?" I had this student was like, "I'm very positive, Miss A." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, I understand, but I was like, "Is there a point where you get mad with your parents or something?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." It's like, "Yep, there it is." So it wasn't funny, but no, it was. I think it went really well, and actually better than expected. However, some changes that I think would have been helpful to do, and that would be better for next time, is that instead of doing this whole lesson as a whole in one day, like taking it apart and doing it over, like, say, a whole week, where like at the end of the week they film, because I think this reading each other's stories, discussing them, and like identifying the things, I think this lesson could have been one of the components, and it could have been broken up into like more days, because since I first had them write on a Google document, like share a Google document and write down their stories. We could even focus on like one day unpacking that story, but like working on grammar. So, okay, this is what you have as a written product. Let's fix the mistakes and everything. So having one day to like write, and then edit, another day to share with your group, and identify, like really work and like focus on one story and give it a substantial amount of time, and then another story. So like doing like that, and then another day to write alternative responses to it. Or whether it is one day that we focus on one story and we write alternative response to that story. So I think it would have been way better to do it over a course of a whole week. I just didn't know the students would get that much into it. I mean, I was a bit hesitant, because I was like, I don't know if they're going to really get too much into it. I want to be very open about their emotions or like personal life kind of thing. But it actually ended up going really well, and I found out how many kids have punched teachers. And and I was like, okay, this is why we're doing this, so that before you get so angry with me that you want to punch me, that you were able to identify your emotion and tell me, Miss A, I need a timeout. It's kids that you would never imagine that they had, and it's interesting, like that would have done that. It's interesting hearing their stories. And at first I was like, are they just like doing this because they know it gets a reaction? But then other kids be like, oh yeah, that's in 6th grade. I remember you were on the field and you broke that teacher's leg. Like,
okay,
stories like that where I'm like, wow.
So then, before we look at the student work, one question I wanted to have, like, kind of out there as we look at it as a frame, is how the standard that you use, because I know it's related to, we use the Common Core standard as well as the actual ones for the World Language Standards, to see how the standard and the teaching point, I guess, how the task was aligned to that standard or teaching point. So could you remind me what the actual standard was?
I have to look at them again, but it was the first one is like the interpersonal and intrapersonal, I think. It's because those is a communication standard, and there's 3 of them that fall under. There's 3 sub-standards that you can use, and I mostly use the interpersonal and intrapersonal standard, which requires them. I need to look it up again.
No. So but I want you to cite standards now.
No, but it requires the students to analyze and reflect. So they get some individual time to reflect on something, and I think the standard even says like analyze to express feelings and emotions in something in the target language. So definitely met the standard in that, because they had time to work individually and reflect on that, because they had like 20 minutes to write about their experience, and then they had a time to collaborate with each other and share it. So that definitely met the standard. And then I used the Common Core standard that talks about writing for an appropriate task and audience. So that was met through in various ways, but primarily through the Google document, because they had to write in a paragraph form and tell the story. So that's how it was met. And then they had to write in here for the appropriate task, and each person had a role, and they had to, answer the questions and write appropriately to that task.
Have you had a chance to review your fourth period yet?
No.
We'll do it together.
Yeah, I mean, they're still working on it. We still have to do more.
Oh, no, that's okay. No,
yeah.
sorry, but just wrapping it up. No, I would agree, like you were mentioning that, and I think that'll saying the intention again at the end will fit very neatly. And you already mentioned that you built in that time this semester. Where do you feel that you are with success criteria?
I think with success criteria, I think I'm able to narrow what the success criteria will be. I think before I was struggling more with the learning objective, because I was trying to struggle separating the learning objective from the success criteria. And I was like, but it sounds like very similar, But I think when I talked with my coordinator at USD about this, I was like, I feel like I'm blending them both. And she's like, well, they are supposed to be connected. I was like, but my success criteria is just more specific. I pick out a specific of how many things or that's doable, and she's like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
I was
those
okay.
observable things like
okay.
Yeah, so
I was like, she's like, that's what you're supposed to do. I was like, okay, then I'm fine with success criteria. I think success criteria is definitely something that it's a strength of mine, because I'm able to take, okay, like, this is what we're doing today. You should feel successful if you're able to complete this, like meet this. So I think I'm good with that.
Okay, so I'll put that there, and then I think that the next time that we meet, if you're able to act on those 3 suggestions and that you identified for yourself, and I did as well, that'll definitely take you into the direction of someone who's exceeding proficiency in that arena.
Yes, and I'm excited with once we get the textbooks as well. Or you're having that material, I think it'll be helpful, because then I'll be able to, I'm trying to implement social emotional curriculum into it. So if I'm able to have already some type of curriculum, then adding that to it. But
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely do the reflection journals. I think that's going to be a good practice for them.
I think I'll actually put that as one of that's something you're going to do as well, because I agree that if anything, it's only going to help them develop more of that academic language.
Yeah, and I think that will help me. Having something like that's going to help me also with my heritage learners, the ones that, because most of them will be considered heritage learners, but there's a big difference between, and there's books that Subtractive Schooling that talks about this, about immigrants that come from a Spanish-speaking country and went to school there, and you as a born immigrant.
Absolutely.
And I do see that gap in my students. So then there's a Jose Beltran or Josmar that are much more advanced in their skills of writing and everything, whereas if we have this type of curriculum, then I'm able to look at additional resources for them to continue to build and be more so that their skills they're being pushed and challenged more.
Absolutely, because
so we have that